Eric, don't. This is for myself. Alright. She would have died hereafter. There would have been time for such a word. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day. To the last syllables of recorded time. And all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out, 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 brief candle. Life is but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Alright, so who knows what play that's from? Yes?
I believe it's Macbeth.
Alright, thank you. So this comes from Macbeth, and it comes from a very late portion of the play, Act 5 about. And it's a very, very poignant piece, a very poignant soliloquy. And in this soliloquy, Macbeth's just been told that his wife is dead. And so he starts to go on and speak about it. But his words are interesting. You know, he says, she would have died, his opening words, she would have died hereafter. She would have died anyways, is what he says. I know that she would have passed on anyways.
Drink water.
So this piece is very revealing in regards to Macbeth because it shows a portion of who he is as a person. His wife has just committed suicide. She's offed herself. She's dead. And he's mourning, but more importantly, the first words out of his mouth are, it would have happened anyways. And it reveals something very, very serious about his character, that he is so consumed with his mission to become king that he just he mourns her. He said, he gives this beautiful speech about death, how it happens to everyone, essentially. But, again, he's pushing it off to the side because he has something more important to deal with, the coming battle. And that's something that, it shows who he is as a person, right? And that's what we're going to be looking at today. We're going to be looking at how lines of dialogue in plays can do three things. They can either reveal characteristics of a character. So, like Macbeth, they can tell us what sort of person they are. They can further the plot, so they can give us an indicator of where the plot is heading, or they can promote or propel characters, push characters to make decisions, right? So, my question to you all is, why is it important to know these things? Why is it important to be able to look at a play and identify lines of dialogue to answer those three questions? Yes?
My head. It entertains and it tells us about the future of the character and his actual self. It also tells us about ourselves.
Okay. Anybody else have any input, feedback?
Well, I mean, often dialogue foreshadows, as you said, things that are going to happen in the play as the story moves along. It can give us insight into why those things are happening.
Apologies.
It can give us insight into why those things are happening, what the motivations behind them, kind of the tides underneath the ocean of the play. Okay, and so you said that it reveals character, so being able to identify lines of dialogue that do these things. Question, does it help us better understand where the play is going? Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, it helps us understand where the plot is headed, but also why sometimes it's headed there. Why, like you said, the motivation of a character.
Okay, so So it tells us, it shows us, we can identify lines of dialogue and see, okay, well, this is where the plot is heading, or this is why this character decides to do this, or, this line of dialogue really shows us that so-and-so is good, bad, jealous, dislikes this person, so on and so forth. My question to you now is, how is this relatable to our everyday lives? So it's important to know the skill, right?
You have to pay attention to what we do.
So it's important to know the skill, but why is it important, right? We're going to be learning how to identify these lines and be able to tell which of the 3 questions it answers and then how it answers those questions. So why is it important? Starting off.
Well, I mean, relating to real life, I guess it's important for us to understand how to identify when we're reading content, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, what's driving it and what purpose it has. And also in just conversations with people, understanding, helping, keying in on things that tell us what their motivations are, what things they're planning. Because people don't always speak clearly or express themselves fully when they're talking. Sometimes they have motives that we just don't pick up on if we're not paying attention.
Okay, that's a good point. So if you're having a conversation with somebody and they say something to you that seems out of character for them, is that going to be something that snags your attention? And you're going to go, okay, well, why did they say this? That's not like them. Or so even in everyday context, right? We say things like, I'm heading to the store, right? Tells you where we're going, right? Furthers the plot, as it were. Tells you where somebody's going. Our dialogue, speaking is one of the most important forms of communication, and our dialogue says so much about who we are as people. And it answers those 3 questions for us. It tells people who we are, tells people what we plan to do, and what another person says to you really can motivate you to take action, right? So thank you for answering the question, and you got to the crux of it. This matters. Being able to identify these lines of dialogue matter because it's a skill we use every day in our own lives, right? We talk to a friend says something, we learn is, that friend's a little crazy, we learn that friend, has a soft side for this, or gets upset about this, and so we're given characteristics of the people we know through dialogue, right? We're told what they're going to do in their lives, furthering their plot, as it were. Where we see, we can see where when people fight, we can see how words can motivate somebody to throw a punch or to fight back with words. And so we see these things, and that's really important to be able to do. Okay. So today, we will be examining Act 1, Scene 2 from A Midsummer Night's Dream. Okay. This is it's one of Shakespeare's comedies and romances. It's a great play. I will be handing out copies in a moment, but I want to talk a little bit about what the play is about. So this play is set in Athens, and as I said, it's one of his comedies, one of his romances, so bound to be some humor. But the basic premise for the play is that there are several young lovers, a bit of a love triangle. Hermia is the daughter of a very wealthy, powerful man, and she's been betrothed to somebody whom she doesn't love, and she's in love with another young man. And so there's a bit of a love triangle there, but the man she's betrothed to, Demetrius, her handmaid, Hermia's handmaid, Helena, is in love with him. And so there becomes like this lovely, quadruple love triangle? And involves fairies and magic, and it's very fun, very silly, which sometimes Shakespeare could be. So the scene that we will be examining is actually the players. There's going to be a play within the play, and it's the players, Quince, Bottom, trying to remember the rest of their names. Well, we'll get to it when we pass out the stuff, but what your goal is going to be as we begin is I am going to be